Hey everybody, Josh Sheridan here with the Barely Legal Podcast. On today's show, we have a very special guest, Dave Decker. Dave Decker is a Renaissance man. He is a photographer. He is a musician. He's the lead singer and guitarist for the band Big Sad. He works locally, I believe, for Creative Loafing, shooting all of their live music. And he's just one of the most interesting characters that you're going to have the opportunity to run across. So thank you for coming on the show today.
Hey, Josh. How's it going, man? Thanks a lot.
Very cool. Now, is this your first time on a podcast?
Yeah.
All right,
is.
so I'll go easy on you.
Okay, thanks.
I'm trying to think how it is that I first became aware of you. At some point, I became a nerd for Ray Roa, and I remember your name coming up a lot there. And then there's this other incident that I always have to be very careful talking about because my colleague doesn't like to disclose his alter ego to people for various reasons. But an attorney friend of mine, leads the band Wolfface, and at some point along the way, we started talking and realized we both. I mean, he knew you a lot better than I did, but then after that, I just started seeing you everywhere, whether it was on social media, whether it was in the rags, whether it was, going to concerts and seeing you there. It's like when you buy a car, all of a sudden you see everybody else is driving that same car that you have. So anyway, I wanted to kind of go back to the beginning. We were talking a little bit about the show. Did you grow up in the Brandon Clearmount area, or did you move there at a young age?
Yeah, well, actually, I was born in Miami.
Oh, really?
Yeah, down in Miami. I was born in Jackson Memorial Hospital.
Okay.
In 1973. And
so you're just a couple years older than I am. What are you, 45, 46?
46, yeah.
Okay. You look good for your age.
Oh, thank you. Thanks.
So born down in Miami. Any siblings?
No, it was just me.
You're an only child.
Oh, yeah, I'm only child.
I'm an only child too.
Yeah.
We could talk about that. That's one of my favorite topics to talk about.
That's like a blessing and a curse, right?
100%. 100%. I've spent a lot of dollars on therapy and anti-anxiety medications as a result of being an only child. What did your parents do?
Okay, so my dad, he was let's see, about the time I was born, he was discharged from the military. He went and did his thing in Vietnam.
What branch was he in?
He was Air Force.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, he was Air Force. He was like basically from Kentucky. He grew up in that like small town, like John Cougar Mellencamp type.
Yeah.
Kind of environment. Worked at a cheese factory when he was like 16, and back in the mid 60s, late 60s, that was like Kennedy got us into that war, and then Johnson was keeping it going. And it was all about be a proud American, go to war, and all that kind of stuff.
Right. And
so, yeah, him and his brothers did that, and which they all regretted it. And they all luckily came back. So he came back. He got out. Actually, it's weird. He was an Air Force guy, but he got a Purple Heart.
Oh, wow.
He got shot, actually.
Flying a plane, or?
No, he was just on the ground.
Oh, wow.
I think the airport he was in got overtaken by people.
That's crazy.
And so he came back, which actually kind of turned his views around. He became more compassionate and empathetic towards people all over the world. You realize the government's just full of shit.
Is he still around?
He is. No, he passed away. He actually passed away young. He was like 54.
Oh, really?
So he passed in the year 2000.
And how old were you at that time?
I was
17?
No, in 2000. No, actually, I think I was like 27.
27,
yeah.
I
27.
became an attorney, so I didn't have to do math.
That's okay. I lose decades.
Yeah. That must have been rough. I just lost both my parents in the past 2 years, and
I'm sorry.
Losing your parents in your 40s, I think, is significantly different from losing it, in your younger life. How did that kind of impact you?
It was pretty rough. Because he had basically it was health related issues.
Sure.
which was largely contributed, looking back, to nutrition. I mean, he had diabetes really bad.
Oh, wow.
And smoked cigarettes.
For sure.
But in the, the late 80s and stuff like that, research on diabetes was not like it is now.
Cigarettes, too. I remember walking around Tyrone Square Mall over in St. Pete, people smoking, and they still had ashtrays in the armrests of airplanes and stuff,
shit. Everybody smoked, man.
That's right, that's right. And what about your mom?
Mom's still around. She's still cranking. She's like 74, and she actually like works from home.
Oh wow, she still
For
live in South Florida, or she live up here now?
she's actually out in Tampa.
Okay, cool.
So like on my mom's side of the family, we're fourth generation. In this piece of land, we call it it's called like, well, the river used to be called Palm River,
Okay,
and I think the town is still called Palm River, but they've renamed it like the Tampa Bypass Canal.
sure.
A good landmark for maybe a lot of our friends, maybe a lot of your listeners would know. Do you know where the Buddhist temple is?
For sure, I used to go there for the brunch or whatever.
Yeah,
it
on
is.
Sundays.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So like we're like 3 houses down from that on the water.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so my family like, and they're still there. Like my grandparents' house, we actually had like 8 acres in there, and had
That
cows
place
and stuff.
that place is unreal. I mean,
Mhm.
I in around 2008, I got really into mixed martial arts, and I started doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and Muay Thai kickboxing, and
Oh, cool.
they kind of alerted me to that place, and then I started going with my wife, and we lived for a period of time like out in Lithia, that area.
Oh, okay.
And so we would go out there and grab some Thai food, and it was amazing, unreal.
Yeah, it's super cool.
In fact, I was just thinking about it recently. I don't know if you ever listened to the Joe Rogan podcast, but he's not called Ray Capo anymore. He's called like Raganuth Capo.
No way. He had him on. He was
Yeah,
on
he
Joe
was just
Rogan.
on like in the past week or two.
No way.
And now he owns. So for those of you listening who may or may not know, Ray Capo was the lead singer for Youth of Today. He was the lead singer for Shelter.
Yeah.
He was the lead singer of a band I just recently learned called Better Than 1,000. I wasn't even aware of, but I knew that at some point he got really into Krishna and Buddhism and that sort of thing.
He went. Yeah.
He started that band Shelter, which was they dubbed Krishna Core.
I saw Shelter here.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Oh man,
I saw him
you
play.
Shelter and Fugazi. We're going to talk about that.
Yeah. Okay.
But anyway, so sorry, I go off on tangents. But anyway, I was thinking about that temple because it's like a 3-hour interview between Ray and Joe.
No way.
And he goes all through. He has his farm like up in upstate New York now, where he teaches yoga, and he takes voyages over to India, takes people over there, shows them around, and he talks about he did like 6 years as a monk over there, where there was
I heard that. Yeah.
not even no booze, no. It was like no masturbation, no sex, no nothing. You're just sitting, no hot water, no anything.
Wow.
So interesting. But anyways, it got me thinking again about the Thai temple. So anyways, your mom lives out there.
Yeah. So my mom. So she's still there back in her place, and she's doing great. Like she basically works for a managed healthcare company. So
Okay. That's
Yeah.
great. Still in her 70s, still kicking it.
dude, my mom works from home, and like she can wear a muumuu if she wants and pull like almost 6 figures.
That's badass.
Just crazy.
Do you call your mom like you should?
Well, actually, it's kind of funny the way things are because of her age, and her mobility and stuff. What I do is like I consider home like in Tarpon Springs,
Okay.
where it's just where Melissa and our daughter are.
Okay.
So Melissa, I've been with like, gosh, almost 20 years. We've been friends since we were 14, and yeah, she's the trooper. We're basically like a married couple without the paper.
Sure. Well, as a divorce lawyer, there's there's arguably some benefits there. So
Yeah, it's crazy.
I can identify with you.
Yeah, I'm like, do you want to get married one day? She goes, it's the #1 reason for divorce.
Yeah, you can't get divorced if you weren't married. That's
Yeah.
100% true.
But yeah, so like I'm there like 4 days a week, but 3 days a week, I stay over there at my mom's.
Oh, that's
Just
awesome.
to kind of check things out. It's my old room set up, and like it's kind of like this room here. It's just there's a Murphy bed,
Yeah.
and it's just studio equipment.
It's like a time machine. Sends
Yeah.
you back to 16 or whatever.
It's like an office for editing images and producing, like demos and stuff. Like I have just tons of gear in there, and Melissa likes it because it's like it's there.
Right.
So it's not
Yeah,
making,
she doesn't have to step over it. She doesn't
Yeah.
trip over it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not making everybody crazy.
You saw the guitars in my office. That's
Yeah.
the same reason.
I know
Get this
it.
shit- Well, part of it is get this shit out of here, and the other part is it's harder for her to keep track how many guitars I have
I
when
know.
they're in the office.
Yeah.
But anyway, so is photography, is that your full-time job, or is that just something that you're doing in addition to your work?
So that's a great question. So right now I'm in a transition, right? So photography is something that I'm really passionate about, and I'm trying to monetize it more in the real estate area.
Oh yeah, that's big.
So yeah, so right now, like I'm basically in the process of getting my my Part 107, my FAA license. I just purchased
With drones?
really nice drone from Autel
Yeah.
Robotics. And I was gonna go get a Mavic, a DJI, but those are great drones, but they're just restricted.
Have you ever seen Greg's videos from when he was racing drones?
Oh, yeah, he's badass. He's got all this
It
crazy
looks
stuff.
like, what is it, Empire Strikes Back or whatever, where they're racing around in the woods. No, Return of the Jedi, where they're racing around in the woods on those little speeders.
Dude, that guy is like a Renaissance man.
He's crazy. He's like, by the way, did you know I make these action figures?
Yeah.
By the way, do you know I do drones?
The action figures. I just forgot about the fucking action figures, man.
For sure.
Okay, can I say that? Sorry.
Oh, fuck. You're all good. No, I mean, there's people, and I think you're one of them. I think Greg's one of them. There's a guy, maybe we'll talk about later, named Pat Clemwish, who's played in a bunch of bands over in St. Pete, that make me feel bad about what I have accomplished in life. I've done one thing okay, but I love people who kind of occupy all these spaces and do a bunch of different stuff well. So, but anyway, that's very cool. So you're getting an FAA license to do the drones, to take the aerial photography.
Yeah. So I've got like 3 or 4 realtors that are helping me out. Giving me opportunities to go in and shoot. And give them what they want as far as what MLS requires.
Uh-huh.
And
by the way, talk to me after, because I know a bunch, and I actually used to own a title company. So
oh wow,
yeah, we'll talk about that after.
Cool beans, yeah, absolutely. Because I had this thing that happened, a few years back. And before that happened, I pretty much worked for myself most of my life. I owned a retail business for about
what type of business?
8 years. It was a bicycle store.
Where was that?
Out in Brandon.
Oh man,
we
can talk bikes too.
It was off Bloomingdale Avenue.
Who's the guy that's right here on Florida?
Joe Haskins.
Yeah, so I bought one of those SE Fat Tire, SE Racer.
One
of those bikes.
Yeah.
And I get looks from everybody in the neighborhood, right around the neighborhood with my kids trying to do bunny hops off the hills and everything.
Oh yeah, dude. Joe has been in the game longer than anybody.
That place is legit. I love it. I mean, I don't even know. I was hoping at one point to maybe talk him into coming here, but I don't know that he would.
Dude, Joe has stories like, in the old days it was like, Joe, like how do you take care of you? And he's so cool. Everybody loves him. He's a good man. He's a good community guy. He's like, I got a shotgun underneath the thing.
Oh, for sure. I
mean, you go in there and rob Joe, man.
Well, it's funny because that bike you see a lot in certain subsections of the community, and so I'm sure they're a hot commodity and something that people often probably want to steal out of that back room there, but for him to kind of be there for as long as he has been is a testament to him.
Yeah, he does. He's good people, and he looks after the community. He looks after people.
So you own the Bookshop bike. What was it called?
The shop. Well, the shop's still there. I sold out to 2 other people in 2010. It's called AJ's Bikes and Boards.
Okay.
That was my shop. We were a giant specialized dealer.
Oh wow.
Yeah, we were a pretty big shop. I mean, when we opened up, we were like 2367 on square foot, and then after
that's a big shop.
Yeah, and after the first 2 years, we had our friend who was a customer of ours, was actually a builder. So we were like, the real estate market started kind of going crappy. So let me back up.
Sure.
Off of Bloomingdale Avenue, right next to Bloomingdale High School.
Yeah.
There was a center, like a little business center there. It was like all BPO, business purpose only. So what we did when they were doing the build out was I was basically going to buy in 2005. I was buying the inventory from another man's shop.
Okay.
Myself and my partner, which was his son. So what we did was we bought out the inventory, and I approached the builder. I said, listen, we don't really need much for build out, but we want to build a bike shop. And I had it basically kind of laid out like a bar.
Oh, wow.
So instead of having like people serving you drinks, there were bike stands.
Sure.
And people were wrenching.
Yeah.
Then I had slat wall all around, so you could just like upsell, suggested sale, stuff like that. And anyway, it was totally good time. We had I had actually 2 partners there, and it was killer. We did it for 5 years. After 2 years, we bumped up to 4,000 square foot. Had like 9 employees.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and we were doing killer business.
Hey, did you say skateboards too? I heard you say boards and bikes.
Bikes and boards. We did originally have skateboards. Yeah. So the first.
There's a skate park that's not too far from there, isn't there, on Bloomingdale?
Yeah, I think a few years ago.
Yeah.
They built a concrete park out there. Man.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Like, yeah. I mean, yeah, they built a park out there. And we actually stopped doing skateboards though after like 2 years.
Yeah.
Because it was hard to keep up. Like,
sure.
And I was just like, I'm just gonna send people to the skate park and give Brian the business. But yeah. So the bike shop was cool. So, but what happened was after this thing happened, I kind of got into this thing where it was I had to come back up from the ground up.
Sure.
So I started working actually in a stone shop. for a guy.
So you mentioned when you came in the
The new-
countertops,
yeah, the
and I
new
was
count-
that's what made me ask what you do.
Yeah, I
'cause
see that shit.
It sounded like you've put some countertops on and some different services.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I started just running a business for this guy, and basically just do the operations end of all his production and stuff. I'm just running, and it's pretty cool. I mean, it's pretty granted, it's a pretty high tech job.
Are you still doing it?
Yeah, I'm
Oh,
still
okay.
doing it. So
Okay.
it's kind of like bread and butter money,
Well, for sure.
but it's not like where I want to be for the rest of my life. I mean,
Yeah.
after you're in business for yourself, you really don't want to be.
It's hard to go backwards and work for somebody.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately you're working for your client, your customer, but I can stomach that better than I can just clocking in.
It's different. I get your point. I mean, that's a running theme with running your own law practice. I don't have a boss, but I have hundreds of clients who are effectively my boss. But at the same time, I get to decide what I wear to work. I get to decide how late I work, when I come in, when I leave, where I go to lunch. I can have a podcast if I want one, or do this other stuff, and you can't do that when you're working for somebody else. So I get what you mean by that.
And and you choose your destiny. Your business model is your business model. It's not like this other person's in your. But yeah, I mean, it's a cool opportunity. The money I make is great because it helps me buy equipment, and yeah, I just like shooting spaces. It's more fun.
So what came first, music or photography?
I mean, as a kid, I always had like little cameras, and I always had guitars, and I don't know. I think part of being an only child is you're forced to get into things.
So I want to talk to you about this.
By yourself. It's like
Gabe. I can't say his last name, but he's always on Facebook posting like on today's history and music.
Oh yeah, he's still Vinyl Fever Gabe.
Yeah. So I've been talking to him about coming on, and I went through this whole theory about.
Yeah, he's got stories. He's good.
Well, I have this theory, and I don't know that it's a rule, but I bet you there's a high probability or a high ratio of only children of trauma, children of parents who have alcohol abuse, children of parents who there's been domestic violence, where music, or sometimes movies or comic books or whatever, becomes their world because they're kind of figuring out a way to sequester themselves from something else that maybe they don't want to pick up on. And we mentioned a moment ago about being an only child. What I've found is being an only child is you're highly empathetic to your parents, what they're going through, because you don't have siblings around to distract you, to mirror you, or for you to mirror them, or for you to learn from. So
yeah, you become their best friends in a way, and you feel their pain more.
And you're exposed to stuff at a much younger age than probably you should be. I mean, I had a working understanding of my parents' relationship at a very young age. I'm talking all of their relationship. It probably wasn't the healthiest thing, but I found solace in Metallica, and I found solace in Guns N' Roses and Nirvana, and I could go on and on from there. I was talking to somebody else about Ray Kappa. When I went off to UCF, I decided I was going to buy the whole Revelation catalog, and I had Gorilla Biscuits. It was just that was my drug or my distraction or my thing. It was like, if I have this in front of me, then I don't have to look at this other stuff.
Yeah, that stuff's awesome too. That's just such good music. It's so charged up with.
So where did you find music in your youth? Was it friends, or did your mom and dad play it in the house? How did you kind of develop your taste?
That's a great question. So like music always did kind of stick to me because it was like it was an escape, and I think that's what it is for all of us, right? It's like a way to temporarily get out of yourself and feel a dream.
Yeah.
And then maybe we can realize that dream one day and make it happen. But it definitely more specifically, I think I remember being like first music like that I really felt was like, I think it was like 80s pop,
For sure.
when I was like fucking 10 years old.
Oh yeah.
Like a lot of that 80s stuff is just even like
Michael Jackson,
shit
Madonna,
like Duran, yeah.
Road.
Totally.
I mean, yeah, Tears for Fears. I can go.
Depeche Mode was so good.
And you still go back to it today, and it's great.
Oh yeah,
for me it is.
80s pop was so good, man. And then I remember getting into like like I guess you call it like punk stuff. I remember getting into like
skateboarding because that's usually how it happens.
Right. So like skateboarding and biking, because I used to do a lot of like biking and skateboarding when I was like 12, 13. So how we grew up, right? There's like Brandon. And like Brandon was kind of like where everybody was skating, but where I grew up, it was like in Palm River, right? Mm-hmm. So if you were into that kind of stuff, remember like late 80s, there's no internet. I mean, I can remember like the coolest thing was like, having the Terminator on VHS.
Yeah.
Like, oh shit, look at Arnold Schwarzenegger killing people.
Poltergeist,
he's
Terminator,
a robot.
and The Shining,
Yeah.
and Jaws were all my.
Yeah. That stuff was great, man. And so it was like, okay, how are we gonna get out of this bumfuck town and go do something cool where there's like a city? So we went to we would just ride our bikes and we go up to like Specs Music.
Oh yeah.
And I think it was Camelot Music too. And we used to go buy cassette tapes. And I remember the very first cassette tape I got. It was this 79 to 82. It was Black Flag. It was,
for sure. Yeah.
And it was like it was a comp. It was Everything Went Black.
Yeah.
And that had like Dez on it. It had Rollins and it had
Ron Reyes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure. And I just remember like that was like fucking life changing. And then it was like there was that Agnostic Front, Victim in Pain.
Uh-huh.
And then I remember getting the first Dinosaur Jr. record.
Oh, for sure. Oh, God. I am a huge Dinosaur Jr.
Oh, I am too, man. Yeah.
Well, and we'll talk about it in a little bit. I got the chance to hear your album that's coming out now, and I definitely hear some Dinosaur Jr. in there.
Yeah.
Maybe sped up a little bit, but I can hear some Jay Mascis in that guitar.
Oh, that's quite a compliment. Thank you.
So, well, it's funny. I don't know if this is my introduction to punk music, but I can tell you, I remember watching the movie Thrashin', and there's that scene where they're bombing the hill and they're playing the Circle Jerks wild in the streets.
Yeah.
And I was like,
wow.
Yeah, so me and my friends, we would build all these ramps and go, skate at each other's houses, and we would always be playing that music in the driveway. And so, Circle Jerks, I think, might have been my entry point. And then
that's a good place to be. Remember that album called Wonderful?
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
That shit was awesome.
And then right as I went to St. Pete. I grew up in St. Pete. I went to St. Pete High for 2 years and Northeast High for 2 years. But I remember I went to Catholic school for 1st through 8th grade. But when I went to St. Pete High, all of a sudden I saw these guys with shaved heads.
So you went to Catholic school to like high school?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so there's guys with shaved heads and Doc Martens and suspenders and all this other stuff. And I was like, what's going on with these guys? And they were skinheads. They weren't like, Nazi skinheads, but they were kind of working the whole Ian MacKaye thing.
Yeah.
And that's where I, kind of learned about Minor Threat. And I think I don't know if I went backwards into Black Flag from Rollins, but I was a huge Rollins guy. I remember seeing him at the fairgrounds with Sausage, who was like the Primus side band, and somebody else.
Was he doing the Rollins band?
Yeah.
For that?
Yeah. But so then that got me into Black Flag, and so anyway, I could go punk all day, and of course Fugazi, who you mentioned you've seen them live before, and even have a video of you at a show.
Yeah. Fugazi was life changing actually. Yeah, because of course as a kid you're like there's Minor Threat. So Ian MacKaye did a project called Embrace.
Yeah.
And
that was before Minor Threat, right?
I think Embrace was, if I could be wrong on this, but so I think Embrace was in between Fugazi and Minor Threat.
I know Palehead was between there. He had kind of like
Palehead was cool too with
industrial.
Jorgensen.
Yeah.
That shit was badass.
Yeah.
Actually, when I got to meet Ian MacKaye in like 1990.
You did?
Yeah, I got to meet him at that show.
Oh my God.
At that show, they hung out, and I got to hang out with him and talk to him and stuff, which is funny because now if you go to DC, if you just tell him you're doing a documentary, and Ian MacKaye will be standing around somewhere.
He's in all of them. Yeah.
He's in every
He's in all of them.
But back then it was like, oh shit. But
where was the show?
That show was actually at American Legion Hall in Gainesville.
Wow.
Yeah, that show was in Gainesville.
What year was that?
It was 1990. So like.
What is that, like In on the Kill Taker or Red Medicine, or what's the?
No, that was right before Peter came out, because
okay.
So like they had just there was like the 13 songs was really 2 EPs put together.
Yeah.
And what they so they were kind of like touring on that, and on that tour they were playing songs to offer Peter.
Okay.
But nothing had been released yet.
God, that's the prime time to see them. How was that show?
Oh shit! Oh my God, it was like life changing. Like it's the reason why I fucking bought a guitar. It was like why I own an SG still.
Who did they play with?
They actually it's pretty badass. They played with a band called Stabilizer.
Okay.
Who's Brent from a band called Radon.
Okay.
And I think I could be wrong. I don't think Dave Rome was in Stabilizer. But like this band called Radon was like total like Gainesville, like define the Gainesville sound like.
There's a book.
I'll put you up on some Radon. That shit's amazing.
There's a book called Gainesville Punk or something like Gainesville Punk.
Yeah.
Have you seen that book?
Yeah, that's Matt Walker's book. Yeah.
Okay.
He's a really cool guy.
Are they all in there?
Yeah, they're all in there. Actually, my old band Claire Mel, because we were like kind of got started in bands in Gainesville. Our band, they talk about us in there.
That's bad.
We
Well,
were
I'll have to look for you. I have to have you sign it for me next time I see you. So, tell me about that show. I mean,
Oh, so that show, it's like, gosh, I was like 15, and that was back in the day when you know it is when you're skating and you're a kid, you know, you got to have a friend who's like old enough to drive.
right. Yeah.
And then they're probably gonna borrow their mom's car.
Right.
In our case, it was our buddy Eric borrowing his mom's station wagon, and so we just like were like, hey, we heard from somebody. And remember, there's no Facebook, no internet.
Oh yeah.
It was like when you hear about a show, it's like passing kites through prison.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God. So we found out there's a show in Gainesville. It's gonna be a Fugazi show. So we're like, Eric, you're old enough to drive. Let's go. So we just go like, all right, we go skating, and we basically take his mom's car. Don't tell her.
Yeah.
We drive up to Gainesville, and we get there, and we're just kids. We don't really know anybody. But what was cool about that show is a bunch of our friends from Brandon came up too.
They got you in.
Yeah. Well, it was in American Legion Hall too. It was all ages, and that's Fugazi ethics are like always $5, always all ages.
Yeah.
So they wanted music to be available for everybody, in that regard. And I think they largely, William Mackay largely still sticks to those. Inflation, I'm sure, would push ticket prices up if he adheres to that.
Well, he's got a new band with Joe Lally and his wife, and then
Yeah,
Joe
that shit's
Lally
cool.
and the drummer's got the Mesthetics, who is like the rhythm section for Fugazi. They got a band.
Yeah,
then-
that band's cool.
And then Guy I just heard him on a podcast that just came out last week, and I wish they would do one more album. I mean,
I know, man.
politically it seems like the time's right, but maybe they're kind of onto different things now. But
If they did another show on the White House lawn.
well, you see, Public Enemy's going to be doing something for Bernie. I mean,
Yeah.
Rage Against the Machines decided to come and do a big tour again. I don't think it's coincidence that it's all happening kind of leading up to this election. So, I mean, it's seeming like a lot of material. It's a material-rich environment right now. For
Yeah, everybody's
that type of
freaking.
music.
People are primed right now.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, we're trigger happy on the on the descent, man. We got to freaking resist.
So you said Fugazi, but then you mentioned another show that you went to that got me jealous. Who was it that we were just talking about?
Well, let me just say one thing
yeah.
about that Fugazi show. The heat.
Oh, Gainesville, Jesus!
It was
it's like
crazy.
Well, it's a swamp.
Yeah. And then it was like summer, and the heat in there was so crazy that video that you're seeing, you see how it's really foggy.
Yeah.
So our friend Troy, he actually lives in he lives in Orlando. He actually does he's like a pro film audio guy. Anyway, it was so sweaty that it started sweating out his lens.
Yeah.
And I think 9 minutes in, there's a kid who gets his nose busted open,
Yeah.
and they tell this story, and then you see Joe Lally rip off his shirt, come down and hand it to the kid, and yeah, that's me.
That's God.
I'm the kid.
That's so badass.
That's some crazy shit.
You
right?
still have the shirt?
No,
Oh.
here's the deal. I didn't even want to wash the shirt. I was like, I'm keeping the shirt. And at the end of the show, I'm standing there and I'm like, it's like, I don't know, it was like meeting Elvis Presley if it's like the 50s.
Yeah.
And he comes up to me and goes, hey man, are you okay? I'm like, yeah. And he goes, hey, can I have that shirt back?
Oh wow.
I'm like, oh, you really want it back? He goes, yeah. He goes, I don't really have a lot of clothes. I'm like, okay, you can have it back, dude.
Well, I mean, if you're not going to have it, that's a good reason not to have it. As opposed to your wife threw it out or something like that.
It just showed the humility of that band though, and how amazing, what amazing people they really are.
Yeah. I don't think there's going to be another one like them anytime soon.
But yeah. So that show was cool.
What are some other big shows that kind of changed you? Before you started shooting them, anyway.
Yeah, I mean, gosh, geez, there's so many shows.
Everybody's got that one though. I've got a couple. I've talked about them a couple times. I've got my first show ever, which was Rolling Stone Steel Wheels at the old Sombrero. My first show ever was the Stones. So how do you top that? But my number one show that I talk about forever was the Butthole Surfers at the State Fairgrounds.
Oh wow!
Because this was got to be 90, 91, and I've talked about it before, so I won't bore everybody, but he comes out, he's got his hand lit on fire, he's got a bra on his head, and he starts shooting beach balls with a 12 gauge with blanks in it over the crowd. I was like, that would never fly today, but I was like, I felt like I was walking through the gates of hell. I was like, this is way different from the Rolling Stones or Pink Floyd or anybody else who I'd ever seen before. And
yeah,
so,
that band's great.
Oh, they are, and they're talking about coming back.
Yeah, they should come back. They're fucking rad.
Yeah, anyway.
I didn't play this. I mean, I didn't actually attend the show, but I did play it. Um, Probably one of the biggest shows like was actually opening for Against Me at State Theater.
Oh, yeah.
And in like 2006, my old band Watson,
Yeah.
we opened for them, and it was like sold out, man. It was really cool. And,
It's
and I love that band so much, so that was super awesome.
well, I like them too, and the interesting thing about Against Me is when I first heard Wolfface, one of the things that I do with my buddies' bands, I listen to them and I was like, this is what it sounds like to me. And I don't know, you'd have to tell me as a musician, do you like to hear what where the inspirations come from, or is it like it's my own thing that I don't want to hear about?
No, I mean I think it's cool. Like this band called Superchunk, which is like a huge inspiration for me. They
Did you hear the Trump song? Oh, what a day it is to be alive.
Oh yeah.
That song, I love that song,
dude. I like pretty much like that. That's like a monumental band for me too. Like so, there's like scene wise, for me there was like bands, but then there's scenes too. So there's like the Chapel Hill scene. Yeah. There was like the DC, the Discord scene. Yeah. There was the LA scene. There was like New York hardcore, like you were talking about. It was so with like that Chapel Hill scene, there was Archers of Loaf and Superchunk.
Yeah.
Which Superchunk wrote this song called Cool, and it goes, everything's borrowed, everything's used.
Yeah.
It's just like,
Archers of Loaf have a new one out.
Yeah, Archers of Loaf had that new song.
But anyway, so the point I was making is when I first heard Wolfface, I said to Michael J. Wolf, I was like, your vocals remind me a lot of Against Me.
They do kind of.
He's kind of got that deep throaty resonance to him.
And their guitars have that good jangle.
Yeah.
It's like a crunchy jangle.
But so listening to now, is this self-titled or does it have a name?
No, it's actually called Send Help.
Send Help. So Big Sad is the band.
Big Sad is the band.
And Send Help is this isn't even released yet, is it?
It's actually up for pre-order.
Okay.
And orders are getting filled right now. The label is from Dayton, Ohio.
Okay.
It's our friend Josh, Josh Goldman, and that's like his 103rd release.
That's badass.
And he's actually a super active. He's not just a label dude. He actually plays in bands. He's amazing. Actually, they just played last night.
Now, so I got to hear it a little bit today before you came in, and I told you, Dinosaur Jr. and the vocals. I was talking to Greg. I was like, I hear Jello Biafra, and I hear almost like an Irish, like I don't know if Dropkick Murphys is a insult or a compliment, but I almost hear this blue collar Irish kind of accent to a Jello Biafra kind of frantic vocal over the angular guitars like a Dinosaur Jr. And it's just really rad, kind of how all those things play together.
Yeah. It's like I don't know how to sing and not be pissed off.
It comes from the heart, not the head. I mean, I think your music is almost an extension of a deeper emotion more than an analytical. I'm going to play this chord or a suspended or whatever the thing may be. It's almost like you're angry and beating up on the guitar when you're playing it.
Yeah, it's funny. It's like with this band, I co-songwrite with a guy named Richie Lawler.
Okay.
And so Richie and I have been in bands together pretty much since we started playing.
What number band is this in your career that you?
Let's see. My first real band was called Clairmel when that was with Richie and my buddy Don and my buddy Paul.
And were you guitars there?
I was guitar, yeah.
Was that the SG?
Yep, SG. Yeah. Actually, I had a Telly for a while, and
you can get some good sounds out of the Telly. I don't know if you.
Dude, I had a Telly I bought from Thoroughbred Music, and I had I bought it as a kid, and then it was like I had like a Music Man 110. It was like when I first started. This is like 92, 93. So we did Clairmel, and then I was in a band called I've been in like little I was in a band called El Jefe where Richie played drums, and our good friend Jeff London sang. Then I was in a band called Watson with Jeff Brower, who's from like Old Vices, and all these good bands. He's an amazing guy to work with. And we did a band called Watson, which was Richie, and then the Clairmel drummer. And then we did a band called Vaginosaur Jr.
Vaginosaur Jr.
Yeah,
awesome.
Which I kind of hate the name, but I don't know why it's stuck.
Yeah.
And we put out 2 records.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we have 2 full lengths out. That band was with Richie also, where he wrote songs. So, and then we did a band called Sanspur City, which kind of like is Richie and me again, and Don. It's all the Clairmel people, but it's different order of members. Okay. So Richie was bass, Sanspur City. So about 2 years ago, I had these songs, and I just wanted to be able to just move around more. So I was like, I started working with the Tim version drummer.
A what?
There's a guy named Sean Watkins.
Okay.
So the drummer there is from the Tim version.
Okay.
His name's Sean Watkins, and he's just a beast.
I think Greg's told me about him.
Oh God, he's
Yeah, yeah.
amazing.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
such a brilliant drummer, and he's in like 4 bands locally.
Right.
And dude, what's so crazy about the way he plays is he's in 4 bands, and he has a distinct style in each band.
Right.
He's like that kind of a drummer.
That's awesome.
And what's great about him is his dedication is there for each band too. It's like he's so good at compartmentalizing
Right.
how he does things. It's really great to work with.
That's
like,
badass.
Super, yeah, really fortunate. In fact, like the sound of this band, the project was like originally was a 3-piece project, is really largely equal parts. So like I credit him for helping me compose a lot of things like structure wise. And then Richie and I, when I started doing it, was just Sean and I. And Richie goes, "Hey, can I write some stuff?" I was like, "Fuck, dude, this is your thing too." Like
Right.
we've been writing for how long? So actually, he sings on 3 songs.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so he sings, and then I'll just back him, and then when I'm singing, he'll back me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was some harmonies in there, and I said to you, you might think I'm crazy, but it almost. There was one song, I think it was the first one on the thing that you sent me, but a part of it sounded like REM to me, like a punkier REM, which I'm a big
Oh,
REM
I'll
fan.
take that. I love REM.
Yeah, with Peter Buck and Michael Stipe when they used to harmonize. It
Yeah,
was
when you start
badass.
asking about old bands, it's like I forget about genres too. Like, gosh, I remember getting into like every REM record back in the '80s too. At the same time,
Amazing.
I'd be listening to like, I don't know, like some New York hardcore band, and have like a DC band going, like Grey Matter or something. Yeah, and like have like a Pixies record, and like a Sonic Youth record.
Oh sure. Well,
Jawbreaker record, and then like REM would be straight in there with Murmur and all those records.
one of my greatest memories is my parents took us on a road trip up to my dad's sister lived up in Albany, so we drove up to Albany, and I remember
in Georgia, Albany, Georgia.
no Albany, New York.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, long drive. And
Holy crap!
I had Butthole Surfers, Hairway to Steven. I had REM Out of Time, and I had Beastie Boys Check Your Head, and I just was sat in the back of the car and just played those. I mean, how many miles and how many hours that drive is?
Check Your Head, man. That's an intoxicating record.
Oh, still to this day.
That's
amazing.
Rick Rubin produced that, right? Or he was on that? Like running the
I
faders.
think so.
Yeah.
I know he did the first
He did
2,
License to Ill.
and then at some point they kind of broke off from each other. I
Yeah.
got that book and I started it, and I know there's a documentary coming out, but
Yeah.
or was it Run DMC? I know there was the falling out with Rick Rubin. It was either falling out with Run DMC or falling out with Beastie Boys at some point.
Yeah, that was
but,
one of them. I know Rick Rubin was up on it.
Yeah, he used to be a rap guy before he was a
Yeah.
metal guy.
He's
now,
walking
whatever-
around this big
whatever
old
he is.
boombox.
Yeah. So is this Big Sad record and this band, is it a different sound from your earlier bands, or is it just kind of an evolution, or how would you describe it compared to the previous work you've done?
It's funny. It is kind of different. It's because I've always played with a drummer who's a great drummer, and he just plays a certain style.
Yeah.
So playing with Sean, he just plays a different style.
Right.
So yeah, I think it does have a little bit different sound. And then I've been listening to a lot of bands that have been pushing me.
Who are you listening to
I
lately?
honestly, man, I've been listening. 2 bands that I can think of the last couple of years that I listen to. One's an older band. I love Tilt Wheel. That's a band from San Diego.
Tilt Wheel?
Yeah, Tilt
Never
Wheel.
heard of them.
Oh, I love them. They're so
I'll have to
great.
check them out.
And but that Idols record a couple years
Greg's
ago.
all over that stuff, man. He's
Yeah.
yeah.
That Idols record just
Yeah.
fucking blew me away,
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
I love it.
Yeah,
And,
that's been a hot one out there.
I love the attitude in it, and just that guy's great.
So you guys play live. I know you play all over the state. Have you gone outside of the state with Big Sad?
We have a goal to, this year we want to try to do some stuff. Trying to get it planned out. We could go up to New York. I have a friend, she lives in Brooklyn.
Okay.
And she's like putting together a new band. So I can go up there and see her and stay with them. And so yeah, we're trying to take this summer and do something. So either do like maybe like 6 shows up north and back. Or maybe go out west. Our friends out west are always doing like little festivals and stuff.
Yeah.
So maybe go out to San Diego and do a few shows up and down. Maybe go to LA.
So
Come back down south.
switching gears a little bit, let's talk about the photography. You said you grew up, there was always cameras around. How did that kind of grow from, cameras around to, becoming the guy locally to shoot, live music?
Man, okay, so like having cameras around, I always wanted to like document stuff, and
Sure.
then with video, we used to have these like video cameras. I think they weren't even high 8s; they were just old like VHS cameras.
Right.
And as a kid, again, being an only child, I would just be by myself a lot. And my father lived in Miami at the age of 8. My mother and dad split.
Oh, so you were back and forth between the.
Yeah, so
Okay.
like a whole summer I'd be down in Miami, and my dad would work full time. Great dad. It wasn't like I didn't have this bad childhood where parents were like shitty
Right.
to me or anything. I actually was like super like loved and stuff by my parents. But you know, whatever, they didn't get along, so it was in different cities.
Right.
And at my dad's, I'd get bored, so I'd bring my skateboard down.
Shoot skate videos?
Well, no. Well, I mean, I was like 8 or 10. I was being by myself.
Yeah.
So I really didn't do much of that. But what I do is I'd make these little stop action videos.
Oh, wow.
On the VHS. So I take like Star Wars figures and line them up and have them walking around and shit.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
And make little mini movies and show them to my dad at night. And then from that, I just like taking pictures of stuff. But I didn't really pursue it. I got into other things. And I kind of had this epiphany about a year ago. We didn't really talk about the Berkeley scene, but like a scene that really influenced me a lot too was with like Crimshine and Neurosis and all these bands from Berkeley.
Oh God, Neurosis! I love Neurosis.
I know, yeah, so good. So there's so many good bands from that area and that town, and like Op Ivy, of course, Crimshine. You know,
Yeah.
Everybody knows Green Day.
Yeah.
But they made a documentary called Turn It Around, I believe.
Okay.
And it's a documentary on that Berkeley scene. And I remember, they talked to like Aaron Comet Bus and all these people, from that time until now. And there's a guy, and actually he just passed, man, I forget his name, but he was always shooting pictures.
Uh-huh.
And I was looking at this documentary, and most of the stills were his.
Yeah.
And I was like, how important is this guy's work?
Right.
He fucking took all these photos just because he liked it.
Yeah.
And they're like, he didn't really talk to many people.
Yeah.
But had it not been for him, you couldn't visualize what's being told.
Well, if you look right there, the bottom book, Glennie Friedman, it's the bottom one. He did a lot of the Dogtown and Z-Boys. He did the Beastie Boys. He did Run DMC. I mean,
Shit.
He's got Black Flag, Minor Threat. I mean, everybody that we're talking about is in that book, and so very similar to what you're talking about.
Wow. Actually, I need to check this out.
Yeah, take a look at that.
Yeah, this is super cool. Yeah. So like, basically on that, right? I just thought to myself, and now mind you, there are great photographers in Tampa, music photographers and I will tell you locally photographers that have influenced me. I'll tell you two off the top of my head. One is my friend Nicole Kibbert.
Okay.
And she actually lives in Atlanta now.
Okay.
And she's like iconic to me because she's been doing it forever. Like if you go to her Flickr, there's like hundreds of shows, and a lot of times it's like one band and there's like fucking like 10 sets.
Yeah.
And she's photographed me a lot and I'm all my bands over the years, and she's straight edge, like she doesn't drink.
Yeah.
She's a lawyer.
Oh really?
Yeah, I think I think she does like contract law, like something.
Sounds pretty sharp. Yeah.
She's like sharp as an arrow. So so there's her. There's like Todd Fixler.
Any of them musicians though, because that's what I want to ask you about.
I don't know any photographers that are musicians, but there's a photographer and he still shoots all the time. His name's Matt Voller.
Okay.
And he is just badass because he's just like, and he's kind of like the way I like to shoot. He inspires the hell out of me. I mean, he and I, like when I started shooting, he's like, yeah, and he kind of put me up on, settings and stuff, and I basically I shoot. Like when I'm shooting, because I play music. So
this is why I asked you that question, because I would wager that you being a musician adds something to your eye, knowing not. I mean, even just knowing what looks cool. I mean, there's just a certain like rock star shots that.
Well, yeah, because it's like my whole life. I'm like, man, I would take if I was gonna take my picture, I wouldn't take it I wouldn't take a picture of me playing. Like, I wouldn't take a one-point perspective.
For sure, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I want that camera, like, at the fucking base of my bridge.
Oh, yeah.
Just staring straight up to the nut of my guitar.
Well, so I've seen a lot of your stuff on Facebook and I think on Instagram, and it's very rich. There's a lot of shade, there's a lot of darkness, a lot of color. There's a depth to it. It's very cool. I mean, I don't know these other photographers that you're talking about, so I can't contrast your style to theirs. But you definitely have a look, which I think is really cool, especially since, it sounds like you've not been doing this professionally for a super long time, but I mean, you definitely have a style already.
Well, thanks, man.
Yeah, is that intentional, or is just that kind of how it's happened?
I mean, as far as framing and composition goes, I've always kind of seen things a certain way.
Yeah.
And what I love about a camera and is that you can, and the film's cheap now. See, back film used to be expensive, but now you just shoot digital and you can delete what you don't
Are
want.
you a Nikon or a Canon guy?
I'm a Canon shooter.
Okay.
Not because I dislike Nikon, because Nikon's great.
Well, this mirrorless thing started a whole new deal. Is yours mirrorless or no?
No, I'm just still shooting. So Sony's big mirrorless.
Yeah.
And that seems like when people mirrorless, they go Sony.
Yeah.
I know Nikon and Canon have a mirrorless body out now. But no, I'm shooting just a regular full frame 6D Mark II. I had a mirrorless Canon and I didn't like it. And the reason why, if I was going to shoot mirrorless, I'd probably go Sony.
Uh-huh.
Only because they've kind of like mastered that.
They created it.
But shit, I've got all this glass. It's Canon glass.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's true. Now, there's some lenses that I told you before that my wife's a photographer. And so any knowledge I have about it came from her. And usually Christmas or birthdays, I'm going on BH or whatever the website is.
B&H? Oh, yeah, that's my place.
Yeah, no, getting her...
you don't want to know what my credit line is.
Oh, I'm sure. A nifty 50 or whatever but they've got some that are, what do you call them, like universal lenses that you can look and adapt. I don't know if they're good.
No, it's true. You can use adapters and stuff. And I'm sure they work. I've just read where electronic-wise, like if you have a Sony lens on a Canon body...
loses something in the translation.
Yeah, and I've heard maybe the focus doesn't work as good. I'm sure you would be okay with it. But yeah, I just stayed in the Canon family though.
Are you changing lenses during a show or do you pick one and go with it?
Sometimes I do. So like if I'm using flash and I'm shooting small shows, like I shot last night and I shot the night before.
I know you. I read your timeline yesterday, so I appreciate you coming in here. You had like 8 days in the course of one day.
Dude, I left that show and went straight to the granite shop because we had a machine that failed.
Yeah.
And I had to run production I had like 4 people coming in to work. And they had to do their job, and I'm the person that fixes all that stuff. And yeah, so I had to basically take all these parts, and it was like building a bomb. This giant, crazy thing. But it was crazy. So, but when I shoot the smaller shows, I'll shoot my wide lens. It's actually a lens I bought for shooting real estate, but it's killer for shows because it's like really fucking wide.
Well, that's what I was wondering. I mean, can you bring your nice stuff to a show? I mean, with people bumping into you and sweat and guitar heads swinging around and every other kind of thing.
Yeah, I just guard my shit pretty good.
Yeah.
You know, growing up in punk rock shows, having to take care of yourself.
Got a go bag and keep it under your arm and.
Yeah, totally.
That's badass. So, where's your work been shown? I mean, obviously, I've seen it on social media, and you do it for creative loafing too, don't you?
Yeah. So, Ray, he's always been like super supportive, and and all my music and stuff.
He's an amazing guy. He's such a nice guy.
He's great. He's such a great person, and he's like a rising tide floats all boats kind of thinker. Where he just wants to see everybody around him do good. Yeah. I mean, he doesn't ask a lot from people, but he gives a lot.
That's awesome.
He's such a great guy.
Yeah.
And me personally, I know, when I got into a bit of things happen, and then I turned my life around, kind of at the last minute. He and we would talk a little bit because I was coming back in music. Yeah. Because I had to come up basically, from scratch.
Right. Restart.
Yeah, and so I started doing projects and bands, and he and I would talk a little bit. And I've always been intrigued by people that do like basically what you do, like what you're doing now. Like it's one thing to have a conversation; it's another thing to know how to ask a question. And
I just listen. People have asked me that, and all I say is I drive a ton for work, and so I consume hours and hours and hours of podcasts. I probably listen to 4 or 5 in a day.
You like Mark Maron stuff?
Mark, I listen to every one of them. He's my hero. He's my favorite. I was bummed I didn't get to see him when he came here, but it was a good excuse. I got to go to England and Scotland with my wife, which was badass. But he's my favorite. I'm actually in the process of trying to get the mics that he uses to get the sound a little bit better. But Mark Maron, Joe Rogan. Then there's a couple music ones. There's Turn Out a Punk. You should listen to Crash Bang Boom if you haven't heard of it. It's all drummers. And it's all punk and hardcore drummers, and they got Neurosis drummer on there. They've got Ben Kohler from Converge, and
no shit.
Just badass stuff. And then Conan O'Brien's got a great so I just
podcasts are killer, man.
I love it. It's the best thing ever. I actually met with a guy from one of the local radio stations today. Another attorney, they had reached out to him about doing a podcast, and I talked to them about it. And I wasn't sure what it was going to lead to. It didn't. They were just basically saying that they'd host it for me, but. In any event, he was asking me why I do it, and I was like, "It's my kind of punk band. It's kind of my, skateboarding. It's I can't really do anything. You got a little girl now. I got a boy and a girl. And it's like if I come home with a broken arm, my wife's gonna beat the shit out of
Oh,
me.
dude,
you
I
know?
go skating now. Yeah, I grew up skating. It's like I can't walk for a fucking week.
I went to skate park at Tampa about a year ago and tried to skate the stone park in between the two,
Yeah.
and I just ate. I have it on video. I just ate it big time, and my shoulder hurts from it. But so anyway, I love it, and I was just like, I love it, and that's why I do it. So if you love something, it's not a job. So
Yeah.
like you with the photography and you with the music. So
Yeah, I totally love it. Like it's fun. I mean, with the music, I don't really try to monetize it as much because it's more like just an outlet to be creative.
yeah. Now, how old's your
Versus-
daughter?
Um, she's 13.
Oh wow. Okay,
Yeah.
so you're old hat at this. You've figured it out.
Yeah, she's really self-sufficient. I mean, I'm so lucky and grateful that
Our
that-
daughter's
that-
the best.
Oh God, yeah, she's amazing, and
It's-
her mom's equally as amazing, and
Yeah, it's amazing. I had such a intense love for my wife that I was like, I don't know what bringing another person into this is going to do. And then we had my daughter, and it's hard to say this without it sounding weird, but it's almost like a second wife. Like
it is.
like you bicker and like they call you on your shit,
And they'll say the same things your wife say to you.
Oh, for sure. And
It's
they'll
the
rat
same
you out. They'll rat you out. I'm always telling my daughters like snitches get stitches. Stop telling.
They'll rat you out
Yeah.
right in front of
Oh,
you. They'll be like,
It's
"Hey,
like-
Daddy just said this."
you just asked me for a lollipop that she said no to, and I gave it to you, and you turned around and told her about it. It's like that's not happening anymore.
Dude, that happens to you too. 'Cause
oh, for sure.
I had learned my lesson with that. I'm like, anything I say to you, it's like at work.
So,
It's like,
so then I had my daughter, and I was like, oh my God, like I didn't know I had the capacity for this love in me. And then my wife, I was fine with just one kid, and my wife was like, originally she wasn't sure she wanted to have kids, and I wanted to be a young dad because my dad, when he had me, was 38, and I always felt like he was a lot older than all the other fathers. But lo and behold, I had my daughter when I was 38 years old, and then. I was like, I'm all in with her, and then she started talking about, do you want to have another one? And
you guys have two, right?
two. We have a little boy who I think is going to be a killer musician, by the way. I'll show you videos and pictures. The kid's on the keyboard, on the drums,
Oh,
on the
yeah.
guitar. He knows how to hold it. He knows how to strum it. He stomps his foot. But anyway,
Yeah, right on.
so I was like, I feel like I'm cheating on my daughter by having a second kid. I don't think I can. I feel like it's going to have to take something away. But luckily, we had a boy, so now I got one of each, and it's a whole other thing.
Because you get to watch your daughter nurture the boy.
Yeah, they love each other. They're so sweet to each
Aw,
other.
that's
And
cool.
plus, both my parents are gone now, and I kind of want them to have a family that survives my wife and I.
Yeah.
And you never know what the future holds, but probability is that she's going to have her brother after my wife and I are gone, and I just having family in the world, having a spouse or a significant other. Someone to go through life with is great, but have family that kind of goes through it with you too. I just think that's really important.
Yeah.
So, what does she think of you as far as your music career and your photography and all that? She care?
We'll see.
Greg's like his daughters could care less. They don't get.
I know. I heard that. It's funny. I was listening to that yesterday. With Kier Sky, she actually like when I try not to ever really promote anything I'm doing.
Yeah.
Because I know with kids,
Yeah.
like they're gonna be like, so I just kind of let her ask me about stuff. So yeah, it's funny with like when my band plays and stuff. She's just like I opened up for Tim Berry last year,
Okay.
and so Melissa and her came to Crowbar, and I kind of did my thing, and my daughter's just like, like kind of yawn.
Yeah.
And it was super cool. And then we're in the back, and kind of like Tim, he doesn't really like to get out. He likes to just chill out, kind of in like the side room, the green room thing. And I'm just hanging out with him. And we're just talking about old days because our old bands used to like play with
Everybody
them.
knows each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's old, kind of like old friends and stuff. So I'm back there with Melissa and Kier Sky. And I'm like, yo, Kier Sky, this is my buddy Tim Berry, plays in this great band of Bell. And she's like, oh, okay, whatever. And she just starts asking him questions like, so what do you do?
Yeah.
Like kids are great, man. They're
I introduced my daughter to Flavor Flav last night because I don't know if you saw that video.
I saw the promo.
Yeah. So try explaining Flavor Flav to a 6-year-old.
Oh, yeah.
She was like, she just looked at me perplexed, and I was like, you have to understand, there was this band that he was in, and he's kind of been around, and he wears these big clocks, and all this other
Hey,
stuff.
so how'd you meet Flavor Flav last night?
So
Sorry.
it's all a ruse. It's that Cameo. Have you seen that app Cameo?
No.
So there's an app Cameo. You can spend like $100 and have these people send you videos. So the way I found out about it is, so I'm a bigger dude. I'm 6'4" and I'm pushing 290, and My wife's always like, you gotta watch your weight because you're gonna have a heart attack. Or you're gonna. I mean, she's very cool about it, but she's worried about me.
Yeah, yeah.
And so she's always trying to motivate me. And so one day I came home and she goes, "Do you know who Gary Holt is?" And I was like, "Yeah, he's the guitarist for Slayer and Exodus." And she's like, "Well, here you go." And she put this video. I'll just show it to you later. She had Gary Holt on there. He's like, "Hey, Josh, I heard you're a lawyer. That's pretty cool. I never had the chance to go to law school, and you love guitars and you love metal, and that's awesome. And you're trying to lose weight and all this other stuff." I was like, "Fucking Gary Holt's talking to me on the phone." So then, if you go through there, there's this crazy people like Caitlyn Jenner. Bruce.
Yeah.
He's like $2,500, but there's all these people. There's musicians and wrestlers and actors and all stuff.
And they'll do promo spots.
Yeah, I was trying to tell Michael J. Wolf, you should get $50 here and there to shoot a promo for somebody. I mean,
oh shit.
Yeah. So, anyways, the next one I want to do is Gary Busey because I did Gilbert Gottfried and his.
Gilbert Gottfried's hilarious.
Gilbert Gottfried flavor. So I'm trying to find these people that kind of occupy this certain kind of.
You see the aspect ratio? Gilbert Gottfried's just like close up,
right
hard
up
ass light,
right up his nose,
with a fucking low res cell phone. It's hilarious, man.
But it's they did it for me, and I figure
that's badass.
How much I have to spend on marketing my law firm? I mean, if I had to get someone to do that for my law firm, it would be $5,000.
Oh my god!
Yeah, so I mean, do it for Big Set. Do it for whoever.
That shit's it's funny as hell, man.
Anyway. Well, I know we've done about an hour and we've kind of covered all the bases. I really appreciate you coming in. So what does the future hold? How can people find you, either your photography or your band online? Are you on Bandcamp? Are you on any streaming services? Do you have a website or anything like that?
So, yeah, with Big Sad, the record in about, when it quote-unquote drops, it'll be on Spotify. All your premium streaming services it'll be on. Bandcamp stuff's getting all set up. You can order everything through Rad Girlfriend Records.
Okay.
Their catalog, and it's 150 have already gone to distro internationally.
It's a great looking album
and,
too.
Thanks. Yeah, that's an artist.
Who did that? I was going to ask.
It's an artist from, I think that artist is up in Mass.
Okay.
And he's just friends of our drummer. So I think he'll be our artist for everything. And we're actually got about 13 new songs that we got in the works.
In addition to this?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It's stuff we've got like all scrapped around. So we're trying to put all that together. So, yeah, you can get that through there. As far as me and my photography goes, you can always follow me on Creative Loafing. I'm always there, doing stuff for them creatively. And then, Dave, I'm creating a business name, model, and all that kind of stuff for my real estate photography. But right now, I'm just...
It would be so cool if you could do, I would love to do, an exhibition of, concert photography. I think that would be badass and have some bands play and stuff like that.
I'm so fascinated by all the genres, right? So, there's, architectural, there's landscape, there's fine art, there's, concert. So, I would totally, in, a year, I want to put together my best shots from music to, anything, street photography, stuff like that. And yeah, I want to try to do a gallery, an opening maybe.
Let me know, man. I'll sponsor it. I'll do a live feed from there. We can have Wolfface and Big Sad play.
Oh shit! And then also what I want to get into professionally is I want to do the real estate thing, but I want to transition into more design type photography and architectural.
Oh, for sure.
Tilt shift lenses and.
Oh, for sure. Do you ever get back to Miami? I gotta imagine that's huge down there.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah. Do you have any connections down there anymore? Or?
Not really. No, I mean, there's probably, people doing shows. We have friends down there, actually.
Yeah. Now, are you guys playing any shows coming up?
Yes, we are. We're playing 2 shows. We've got a show going on at Hooch and Hive on, I believe, the 7th with a band called Moon Thing and a band called, I can't pronounce their name, but they're...
It's okay. Text me later and I'll put it in the
on
social media.
Sorry.
No, it's no problem.
And then we're doing the Lucky You Fest, which is going to be on the 13th. And that's at Lucky You Tattoo.
Okay.
And that'll be killer.
That's
just
awesome.
A whole bunch of local bands. And we're gonna play. Also, Frank from the Alps is our keyboard player.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So Frank is on that record. So
I heard some keys on 1 or 2 of the songs.
Yeah, Frank actually engineered that record, and he put keys because I didn't want another guitar player. I wanted a keyboard player. Yeah. And so he's like, all right, I'll play keyboard. So and he's great.
You like Tom Petty?
Yeah, I love Tom Petty.
The keys in that band are insane. Yeah.
So good.
Well, anyway, thank you so much for stopping by, especially after the 48 hours that the marathon that you've gone through. I really appreciate it. I've been trying to get you on for a while. Anyway, guys, check out Big Sad. Check out Dave's photography and creative loafing and wherever else you'll find it. And thank you so much for coming in.
Thanks, Josh. Thanks for having me, man.
All right, have a good night.